right, a little bit of a news blitz here, and then we're going to hit up the phone calls again. 888-201-2244. A little economic news out there. Regulators shut 2 big California banks down and 5 others, bringing the grand total this year to 140 failed U.S. banks. And we were telling you before the collapse that banks were going to go under and go under in a big way before they announced these ridiculous bailouts, which were anything but bailouts. It was basically a corporate banker takeover of the government, a consolidation of power, having the IMF, the Federal Reserve, come together with the SEC and granted all these new powers as they establish a way to just print endless currency and bring in a global unit of currency called the Special Drawing Rights Unit. The new global currency has been established and is being used more than ever for global dominance. So again, regulators shut down 2 big California banks and 5 others, bringing it to 140. Regulators on Friday shut down 2 big California banks, as well as a bank in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Michigan, and Illinois, bringing the total of U.S. banks to 140 that have been brought down this year by a weak economy and mounting loan faults. The FDIC took over all 7. Regulators shuttered First Federal Bank of California, based in Santa Monica, with $6.1 billion in assets and $4.5 billion in deposits, as was Imperial Capital Bank of La Jolla, California, with about $4 billion in assets and $2.8 billion in deposits. And another sign of the times, out-of-work professionals temp at FedEx and UPS. Companies seeing a lot more suits and ties in interviews for holiday work. Well, it's the holiday season. They've still got the families they had 5 years ago. They just don't have the career they had 5 years ago. So they're being forced to take temporary positions at FedEx and UPS. And this one really hit me big because not only is this guy from Newburgh, New York, where a lot of my family lives, but he's actually an ex-writer from ABC and CNN. That shows you how dead the mainstream corporate media is. This guy is looking for temp work as a UPS man. Ed Gullo never thought he'd be on this side of a package delivery. Gullo, 61 years old, of Newburgh, New York, is driving a truck for FedEx during the holiday shipping rush that started after Thanksgiving. Gullo is no veteran truck driver. He's a news writer with experience at ABC and CNN who found gigs hard to come by in this weak economy. FedEx and UPS, the world's 2 largest package delivery companies, hire thousands of extra workers every holiday season, usually college students and 20-somethings. You see, these same college students and 20-somethings and even teenagers used to be able to take service jobs until we opened the border up and just said, come on in, take all of our service jobs away. We like that you're going to work for $5 or $6 an hour. Wouldn't you have rather paid the rate of $7 to $10 an hour for a young U.S. citizen looking for some job experience, looking for a summer job, looking for an after-school job, looking for a holiday job? But that's not what they want. They want to gut the economy so people with actual skills, with actual careers, are forced to take lower-end jobs like this one during the holiday season. This year, the unemployment rate is at 10%, and it's much higher. It's publicly at 10+%. And many experienced professionals are looking for work. A lot more people came to job fairs wearing a coat and tie, says UPS spokesman Norman Black. Ralph Wick applied online with UPS after being laid off from an IT management position. The 42-year-old who lives in San Francisco was managing a staff of consultants and administrators. Now he's a driver's helper, tracking the status of packages and running from home to house, making deliveries. Gullo earns about $13 an hour with FedEx, far less than a $36 an hour he makes for a freelancer. So this is what's happening with the economy. Banks are shutting down. Jobs are going overseas. Meanwhile, they want to shut down all of these large factories so that they can further degrade us into a second world economy and bring us closer to global governance and a one world new order. All right, let's keep taking some calls. Let's go to Scott in Washington. The number to call is 888-201-2244 or 512-646-1776. Scott, you're on the line.
Yeah, I wanted to switch back to the health care for a moment and, Howard Dean's statement. Yeah, I think he's selectively honest when he chooses to be, because you have to remember this is the same two-faced, phony-ass liberal just a few months ago who was out there prostituting for the H.R. 3200 version for this. He was showing up at the town meetings and stuff, and when people were raising the issues about the death panels and all these penalties if you don't get insurance, no, he was sitting there calling people names and Nazis and liars, and they want people to die and stuff like that. And I just think that, he's just on the outs with the party. He was a whore. They were through with him. They kicked him out. Now, all of a sudden, he's bad-mouthing it. Now, I'd listened to Dennis Kucinich because he was more honest about it from the very beginning. But Howard Dean is very disingenuous.
So you think that he really just started saying this because he fell out of favor in the party?
I think
That's your opinion?
Because, look at a few months ago, back in August, he was with the town hall meeting with Jim Moran up in Virginia. And people were asking him about, first of all, the fact that he was there to begin with was ridiculous because he wasn't their representative. But, when people were asking him about the Medicare deficit, the $40 trillion in there, and about the death panels and about the penalties and stuff, he was just sitting there saying that, none of that stuff existed. And that was in the 3200 version of it, the HR 3200.
All right, well, let's say, you know what, your opinion may be correct. I mean, these guys are chameleons, and they should not be trusted, especially people who have been elevated to the status of a Howard Dean, so I will definitely take that into consideration. I thank you for the call, Scott. Let's jump to Eric in Pennsylvania. Eric, you're on the line.
Hey, Jason, what's going on, buddy?
Doing a little radio show. That's what I do on Sundays, apparently.
Just a little radio show.
Just a tiny little one.
All right, I got two things. First, I'm going to share something about my personal life. Ties into what you're talking about work and all that stuff. I obviously, we talked earlier and other phone calls about, my kids and how I'm not with the mom, so I have to pay child support. Well, they just doubled it from $200 to $425 because I only get like 25 hours a week. So they're saying that I can work 40. So they're forcing me to pay for 40 hours a week.
So wait a minute. You were paying $225 and doing about 25 hours of work. Now they're saying that you should be working an additional 15, and because you should be working an additional 15, they now want to up your payments to $400. So you can't find 40 hours worth of work, but again, they want to charge you more money.
Well, it's not even that. It's not even just that. I mean, I also want to see my kids, and the only way I can do that is if I take off on the weekends, and they don't care. They don't even care. But anyway, side issue, I just wanted to bring that up. I saw on the Alex Jones channel, there's a thing, Rod Blagojevich, the governor. You guys have a video on there? Have you seen it?
I have not seen the Rod Blagojevich video, but it's my understanding he's come out against the Fed, I think it is.
Well, basically what happened was 2008, December 8th, 2008, he had a press conference saying that he was going to ban Bank of America from the state of Illinois because of all the corruption that they did. December 9th, he had a SWAT team break in his house and arrested him.
No, I'm sure it's a coincidence. Rod Blagojevich, with his little scandal there. Let's not forget, the guy he supposedly sold the Senate seat to, Roland Burris, sits on the Senate as we speak. So if there was really something to all this, why is he sitting as a senator as we speak? It is very suspicious, and there have been rumblings in the background that Blagojevich was going to go after the bankers, and that's why they went after him. I thank you for the call, Eric. Let's go to Kevin in Canada. Kevin, you're on the line. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm just calling to give you a heads up on some of the CO2 stuff that you guys are talking about out of Climate Gate. As working for a mining company, being underground on a rescue team, CO2 at only 0.03%, that's 300 ppm, is our normal CO2 concentration in the atmosphere at any given time. At 5,000 ppm, that's when it's dangerous for 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. So when you go to 30,000 parts per million, which is 3%, that is good for 15-minute exposure. So if these guys are saying that we're going to double CO2 emissions every year, so if we're at 300 now, 600 next year, 1,200 the year after, so on and so on, once we hit 5,000, obviously it starts to become lethal after 40 hours a week. If everybody in the world virtually is unemployed and we're not hardly burning near as many fossil fuels as we have been, how in the world is this possible?
Well, it's not, and I thank you for the call, Kevin, but we got to move on. Jones just walked in with quite possibly the most disturbing headline I've seen this month. I just read it to the people, Alex. It's unbelievable.